Okay, so good evening.
So, guten Abend.
Let us open with prayer.
Lasst uns mit Gebet an.
Dear Heavenly Father,
Lieber himmlischer Vater,
Lord, I want to thank you for bringing us through this day.
ich möchte dir danken, dass du diesen Tag hindurchgebracht hast.
I want to thank you for all your kindness that you bestow upon us,
Ich möchte dir danken für all deine Güte, die über uns geben lässt.
all the thoughts that you bring to our minds,
Alle Gedanken, die du in unserem Gedanken hineinbringst.
how you draw us with your everlasting love.
Wie du uns mit deiner ewigen Liebe ziehst.
I want to pray, Lord, that you would bless my brother Lawrence
Ich möchte bitten, dass du jetzt meinen Bruder Lorenz segnen mögest
and help him to remember all the points that you put in his mind.
und hilf ihm, all die Punkte zu erinnern, die du bereits in seinen Verstand hineingelegt hast.
And may you help us to see one complete truth.
Und mögest du uns helfen, eine gesamte Wahrheit zu sehen.
And help us to understand the parts and the relationship thereof.
Und hilft uns, die verschiedenen Teile und die Beziehung zueinander davon zu verstehen,
That we can understand this thing correctly.
damit wir diese Sache korrekt verstehen können.
And that we would not apply our own wisdom to these things.
Und dass wir nicht unserer eigenen Weisheit zu diesen Sachen hinzufügen.
So please send us your Holy Spirit
So bitte sende uns deinen Heiligen Geist
and lead us into all truth according to your will.
und führe uns in alle Wahrheit hinein, gemäß deines Willens.
And we ask this in the name of Jesus.
Und wir bitten dies im Namen Jesu. Amen.
Alright, so posted the notes in the livestream group.
Ich habe Notizen in der Livestream-Gruppe bereits gepostet.
And what we want to do is we want to look at the book of Esther in this class and also in the coming classes.
Und was wir tun wollen in dieser Klasse und auch in den kommenden Klassen ist das Buch Esther anschauen.
And we'll see just how it also confirms all the points we have to come to understand.
Wir werden sehen, dass es bedeckt all die Punkte, die wir neulich zu verstehen bekommen haben.
And it's just another nice confirmation. Okay.
Es ist nur eine schöne Bestätigung.
And what I want to show you is basically that the book of Esther covers both Sunday laws. Okay.
Und was ich zeigen möchte, ist, dass das Buch Esther die beiden Sonntagsgesetzen deckt.
I mean, here on the board right now we only have one Sunday law illustrated. Okay.
Also gerade auf den Tafeln haben wir nur die eine Sonntagsgesetz dargestellt.
But tomorrow we'll just redraw the board and then we have both Sunday laws. Okay.
Morgen werde ich einfach den Tafel neu zeichnen, dann haben wir beide oder werden wir beide dabei haben.
Because tonight we'll probably just look at chapter 1 and this is only taking place in the first Sunday law. Okay.
Heute Abend werden wir wahrscheinlich nur Kapitel 1 anschauen und dies findet nur in den ersten Sonntagsgesetz statt.
Okay, so now let us go to the notes
So, gehen wir zu den Notizen
and let us read the first quote from Patriarchs and Kings, Prophets and Kings, sorry.
lesen wir den ersten Zitat von Propheten und Könige.
And this is what it says the following.
Und hier sagt Ellen White folgendes:
The decree that will finally go forth against the remnant people of God will be very similar to that issued by Ahasuerus against the Jews. Okay, so here she mentioned Ahasuerus, right?
Hier erwähnt sie Ahasuerus.
So this was Esther's husband.
Das war die Ehemann von Esther.
And she likens this decree, which was this death decree, right?
Sie vergleicht diesen Dekret hier, was dieses Todesdekret war,
With this death decree that will come against God's people in the Sunday law. Okay.
mit dem Todesdekret, die gegen Gottes Volk in der Sonntagsgesetzkrise ankommt.
And she goes on to say,
Und sagt weiter:
today the enemies of the true church see in the little company keeping the Sabbath commandment a Mordecai at the gate. The reverence of God's people for his law is a constant rebuke to those who have cast off their fear of the Lord and are trampling on his Sabbath. Okay, so she likens then God's people also with Mordecai here.
Sie vergleicht auch Gottes Volk mit Mordecai.
Let's hold them again. They delivered them up because they couldn't refute the Sabbath.
Yes.
Das ist genau oder ähnlich wie in SPM. Sie liefern sie aus, weil die den Sabbatfrage nicht widersetzen konnten.
Okay, so now let us go to the book of Esther, Esther chapter 1.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Buch Esther, Esther Kapitel 1.
So we can see already from the quote, yeah, this is why I placed it in the Sunday law. Oh,
Also,
okay.
wir können sehen von dem Zitat bereits, dass Ellen White das in der Sonntagsgesetzkrise setzt.
And we just want to look at these chapters and we'll find the confirmation for this.
Und wir wollen nur diesen Kapiteln denn anschauen und wir werden die Bestätigung dafür da finden.
So Esther 1 verses 1 and 2.
Esther 1, die Versen 1 und 2.
It says, Now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, this is Ahasuerus which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces, that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace. Okay, so what do we see here?
So, was können wir hier sehen?
So- Excuse me?
An emperor.
Yeah, he's an emperor, right?
Also, der ist ein Kaiser.
He rules over this vast empire.
Er
Okay.
regiert über diese gesamten Kaiserreich.
And his throne is in Shushan, the palace.
Und sein Thron befindet sich in Susan, der Palast.
Okay, all these are obviously prophetic illustrations. Yes?
All diese Sachen sind prophetische oder haben prophetische Bedeutung.
So let us go to Daniel chapter 2,
Gehen wir zu Daniel Kapitel 2,
verse 36 to 38.
die Verse 36 bis 38.
And this is when Daniel stands before Nebuchadnezzar and tells him the dream.
Und hier ist es, wo Daniel vor Nebukadnezar steht und ihm den Traum sagt.
It says, This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of the heaven, hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. Okay, so what do we see here?
So, was können wir hier sehen?
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar is an emperor, right?
Nebukadnezar ist ein Kaiser.
And he's an emperor when he's the head of,
Und er ist ein Kaiser, wenn er den Haupt von,
when he's the head of gold, right?
den Haupt von Gold ist.
Okay, and when does he become the head of gold?
Und wann wird er dem Haupt aus Gold?
Sunday,
Im
right?
Sonntagsgesetz.
He becomes this proud and cruel oppressor, right?
Wird diese grausame und stolze Unterdrücker.
Okay, so therefore we can see here at the beginning of the Sunday law,
So, deswegen können wir hier zum Anbeginn des Sonntagsgesetzes sehen.
that we have this emperor,
Dass es diese Kaiser gibt.
and which would be the king of the north, right?
Das wäre dann der König des Nordens.
Okay, so and he rules now over the world.
Und er regiert jetzt über die gesamte Welt.
Okay, and we also saw Shushan the palace mentioned.
Und wir hatten auch bereits gesehen, Susan, der Palast, die erwähnt wird.
So let us go to Daniel 8, verses 1 to 3.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Daniel 8, die Versen 1 bis 3.
It says, In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw, that I was at Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram, which had 2 horns. And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. So when Daniel was brought in vision to Shushan,
Also als Daniel in Vision zu Susan, der Palast, gebracht wurde,
what did he see, and therefore where was he basically referred to?
so, was hat er gesehen? Und you mean where he was prophetically?
No, where was he referred to which prophetic event?
Also welche prophetische Ereignisse ist er gewesen?
Two-horned power.
The 2-horn power comes up, right?
Der zweihörnige Macht heraufkommt.
But not when it comes up, but when one horn is higher than the other. Okay?
Sondern nicht der Stelle, wo es heraufkommt, sondern eher der Stelle, wo der ein Horn höher als der andere ist.
Because we know when it comes up, it's the time of peace, right?
Wir wissen, wenn es erst heraufkommt, das ist eine Zeit des Friedens.
But when one horn is higher than the other, what does it illustrate? Or what does it mark?
Wenn den ein Horn höher als der andere ist, was stellt es dar? Was markiert es eben?
Yeah, exactly. The church, the Protestant horn is now ruling over the Republican horn, right?
Die Gemeinde, der protestantische Horn, regiert jetzt über der republikanischen Horn.
Okay, which is true at the
Und das findet statt
Sunday law,
bei dem
right?
Sonntagsgesetz.
Okay, so therefore here Shushan refers to the Sunday law, okay?
So daher Susan bezieht sich auf dem Sonntagsgesetz,
At least in this context. Okay.
zumindest in diesem Zusammenhang.
Okay, so therefore we can see Esther 1 verse 1 and 2 brings us here to the Sunday law.
Also
Yes?
wir können sehen, dass Esther 1, Verse 1 und 2 bringt uns hier zum Sonntagsgesetz.
When he's this emperor and he sits in Shushan to rule. Okay.
Als er diesen Kaiser ist und sitzt in Susan und regiert.
Okay. So now let us continue.
Fahren wir jetzt fort.
Let us go back to Esther chapter 1.
Gehen wir zurück zu Esther 1
Let us read verses 3 to 4.
und jetzt die Versen 3 und 4.
It says, In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. Okay, so he now makes this feast, yes?
So, er macht diesen Fest jetzt.
Okay. And for how long?
Und wie lange?
180 days, right?
180 Tage.
Okay, and in these 180 days he shows the riches of his kingdom, yes?
In diese 180 Tagen zeigt die Reichtümer seines Königsreichs.
Yeah, and we know that whatever Christ does at the end, Satan always does at the beginning, right?
Und wir wissen, das, was Christus immer am Ende tut, Satan tut am Anfang.
Yes, so let us just go, for instance, in our Bibles to Isaiah 45.
Gehen wir jetzt zum Beispiel in unseren Bibeln zum Jesaja 45.
Let's begin verse 1 to 3.
Lesen wir die Versen 1 bis 3.
It says, Thus saith the Lord to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden to subdue nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings to open before him the two-leaved gates, and the gate shall not be shut. I will go before thee, and make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the gates of brass, and cut in sunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I, the Lord, which call thee by thy name, am the God of Israel. Okay, so here Cyrus, he comes and destroys Jerusalem, Babylon, sorry.
Also hier Kyros kommt herauf und zerstört Babylon.
Which would be at the end, right?
Das wäre hier am Ende.
And what does he obtain?
Und was erhält er?
What is your
Yeah, these riches, right?
Diese Reichtümer.
hidden riches?
Hidden riches of secret places, right?
Diese verborgene Reichtümer der geheimen Orten.
And the treasures of darkness, okay?
Und diese Reichtümer der Dunkelheit.
And who gives him these things?
Und wer ist es, der ihm diese Sachen
God's
gibt?
people.
Yeah, God's people, right?
Gottes Volk.
Okay? So, therefore here we can see Christ through his people give the true riches.
So, hier können
To
wir
the
sehen,
kings,
dass Christus durch sein Volk die wahre Reichtümer da gibt,
To the kings.
zu den Königen.
But here we see this counterfeit riches, right, that Ahasuerus is showing forth. Okay?
Aber hier am Anfang können wir diese falsche Reichtümer oder weltliche Reichtümer, die Ahasuerus da zeigt.
He's also preparing for a war against Greece.
Yes, exactly.
Just the
Okay.
south.
And also historically, the pioneers, right, during this feast here, they made war preparations. Okay?
Und die Pionieren schreiben, dass in der Geschichte, also während diesem Fest, sie haben Kriegsvorbereitungen
Sorry?
Hezekiah also did the same. He was showing all his riches. Hezekiah,
Yes. Okay.
he was showing also his riches to the other.
Yes.
That's not the same point.
But yeah, it's not the same point. And that's now I cannot comment on this. I need to look at this. Okay. But yes. Okay. But so they made the war preparations, and what does Jesus say here in Matthew 24?
So, sie haben Kriegsvorbereitungen hier gemacht. Und was sagt Jesus, Matthäus
There'll
24?
be wars and rumors.
Yeah, wars and rumors of wars.
Kriege
And
und Kriegsgerüchten und so weiter.
okay. Let us go back to verse 4 and let's read this one more time.
In Vers 4 lesen wir.
Esther 1 verse 4.
Also, wir sind zurück in den Notizen. Esther 1, Vers 4.
It says, when he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days. Right? So it says here 180 days, but it says many days. Okay?
Es sagt hier 180 Tage, es sagt aber auch viele Tage.
Okay, you can find it in Daniel 8, but also in Daniel 11. Right?
Das kann man in Daniel 8 finden, aber auch in Daniel 11.
So let us go to Daniel 11. Yeah?
Gehen wir dahin, Daniel 11.
Daniel 11 verses 31 to 33.
11, die Verse 31 bis 33.
They both finish at the 10
Okay, so Daniel 11 verse 31 to 33.
Daniel 11, 31 bis 33.
It says, and arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate. So that would be the Sunday law, right?
Das würde der Sonntagsgesetz sein.
So that, yeah.
Gerade hier.
Then it says,
Dann sagt es,
and such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity and by spoil, many days. Okay, so here we have these many days,
hier haben wir diese viele Tage wieder erwähnt.
which is the 1260, right?
Also diese viele Tage sind der 1260.
Okay, so the 180 days and the 1260, they are now basically compared. Okay.
So der 180 Tage und der 1260 sind eben gleich.
Okay. But for now, let's go back to Esther 1
Aber vorerst gehen wir zu Esther 1 zurück.
and let us read verse 5.
Vers 5 lesen.
Because once these 180 days were over, what did he do?
Denn als diese 180 Tage vorbei sind, was tat er?
It says, yeah, he did another feast, right?
Er hat ein weiteres Fest gefeiert.
So let's read verse 5.
Vers 5.
And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days, in the court of the garden of the king's palace. Okay, so first 180 days and then 7 days.
So
Okay.
erst 180 Tage, danach 7 Tage.
Okay. And I'm not 100% sure, okay,
Ich bin nicht 100% sicher,
whether this feast is now here the sixth plague or whether it refers to this fiery trial. Okay.
Ich bin nicht 100% sicher, ob diese Fest, diese 7 Tage, bezieht sich auf der 6. Plage oder eben diese feurige Prüfung.
Because we, for instance, in this fiery trial we have many sevens marked. Okay.
In diese feurige Prüfung gibt es viele 7 bereits markiert.
But I'm not 100% sure because I don't have a clear thus saith the Lord.
Is
Okay.
it not the whole period of 1260?
Yeah.
Because in that verse it says 7 days in the court, right? And when you go to Revelation 11,
So, es sagt 7 Tagen im Hof, hier in Vers 5. Und wenn man zu Offenbarung 11 gehen würde,
that's this point here. Verse 2.
Offenbarung 11 und Vers 2.
Revelation 11 verse 2. Okay.
It says, but the court, which is without the temple, leave out and measure and offer, is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. Which is this 1260 repeating.
So ist diese 1260, der hier sich wiederholt.
You mean the 7 days would be the 1260?
Yes, because remember, in this period there, that's all the,
This-
the whole thing,
All this.
all this.
Hmm.
The whole thing is where he's gathering all his people.
So, dieser gesamte Teil hier ist es, wo all sein Volk zu sich sammelt.
So Vashti at the end would ultimately represent all those that refused the call to come to the marriage.
So, Vashti am Ende würde letztendlich all diejenigen darstellen, die sich geweigert haben, zum Hochzeitsmahl zu kommen.
And Vashti is here, right where she gets punished. And then Esther gets called in.
Okay, yes, okay, now I get your point. Okay,
So,
Sorry, just on that note,
Mhm.
when Vashti gets punished, they look for.
punished, yeah.
No, I get what you're saying, but they look for virgins, right?
Yes.
it doesn't matter, we'll just leave it.
All right.
We'll go off in a tangent.
We'll see all these points.
You'll see this point in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. So we can see basically there's a second feast. Okay, 7 days.
So,
Okay.
wir können sehen, dass es ein zweites Fest gibt, 7 Tage lang.
So, as I said, I don't know if the 180 days brings you down to here or to here. I cannot prove it at the moment. Okay.
So, ich bin mir nicht sicher, ob die 180 Tage bringt uns bis hier oder bis hier. Also im Moment kann ich das nicht beweisen,
But-
ein oder andere.
But we know, for instance, here when they get cast into the fiery furnace, what does it say?
So, wir wissen aber hier, als sie im Feuerofen geworfen werden, was sagt es? 7 times hotter.
7 times hotter.
7-mal heißer erhitzt.
Christ was 7 times trialed. Okay.
Christus ist 7-mal verhört worden.
It must still be the same ones.
Some indications. Okay.
The core is marking it here, but remember it gets cut short.
Mhm.
So it's telling us here, it must be represent that time period.
Yes. So you say basically it gets cut short here.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the core represents the whole 1260, but we know that the time of the Gentiles gets cut short.
Also den Hof, was den Heiden gegeben worden ist, ist die gesamte 1260, aber wir wissen, dass es hier verkürzt wird.
I'm just making that point. You've got a thus saith the Lord there. It's better than a supposition. That's all.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm open to this. I mean, as I said, I cannot prove it at the moment exactly, but this point is not so important right now. Okay.
Also ich bin dazu offen, ich kann es nur gerade im Moment nicht beweisen, aber diesen bestimmten Punkt ist im Moment nicht so von Bedeutung,
Because-
nicht so wichtig.
We will see. More important is to see when Vashti is marked that she should come before the king. Okay.
Wichtiger ist, dass wir sehen, wo Vashti markiert ist, wo sie vor dem König erscheint.
So we can identify where the 180 days begin,
So wir
right?
können feststellen, wo die 180 Tage anfangen,
And we also can identify where the 7 days feast end.
und
Okay.
wir können aber auch identifizieren, wo dieses 7-Tag-Fest endet.
So therefore, this transition between the 180 and the 7, whether it's now here or here, is at the moment not so important.
Also dieser Übergang von den 180 zu den 7 Tagen, ob es nun mal hier ist oder hier ist gerade in diesem Moment nicht wichtig.
Okay. So let us go back to Esther chapter 1,
So, gehen wir zurück zu den Notizen zu Esther 1,
verse 6.
Vers 6.
Na, Margaret, kannst du vielleicht das Fenster aufmachen? Okay, it says, where were white, green, and blue hangings, fastened with cords of fine linen, and purple to silver rings and pillars of marble. The beds were of gold and silver upon a pavement of red and blue and white and black marble. And they gave them drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse one from another, and royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king. And the drinking was according to the law, none did compel. For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house, that they should do according to every man's pleasure. So, what were they doing during the 7 days?
Bis Vers 8. Also was taten sie in diesen 7 Tagen?
Yeah, they drank wine.
Sie haben
Okay.
Wein getrunken.
Alright. And now verse 9 to 11.
Verse 9 bis 11.
Also Vashti the queen made a feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to King Ahasuerus. So at the same time, Vashti now makes this feast, right?
Zur selben Zeit macht Vashti diese Fest.
Okay, it's a feast for women, it says.
Und
Okay.
hier ist es eine Fest für Frauen, sagt es.
Yes?
Amen.
Okay, now verse 10.
Vers 10.
On the seventh day, which day?
Welches Tag?
Seventh
Der
day.
7. Tag.
When the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Bishta, Habana, Bigtha, and Abigatha, Setha, and Carcass, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal, to show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on. Okay, so what was now the call?
So, was war das Aufruf?
That she should come before the king,
Dass
right?
sie vor dem König kommen soll.
And how was she to appear before the king?
Und wie sollte sie sich vor dem König
The
erscheinen?
crown royal.
Yeah, with a crown on,
Also
right?
mit das königliche Krone auf.
And with her beauty. Okay?
Und in ihrer Schönheit.
Okay, so let us just look at this point. Let us just go to James chapter 1.
So, schauen wir diesen Punkt an. Gehen wir zu Jakobus Kapitel 1.
James 1 verse 12.
Jakobus 1 und Vers 12.
It says, Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried he shall receive the crown of life, which the Lord hath promised to them that love him. So, what do you receive?
So, was erhältst du?
Crown of life.
Crown of life.
Krone des Lebens.
When?
Wann?
At the end of the test, right?
You love him.
Yes.
Ende des Tests,
Yes, when you love him, exactly.
wenn du ihn liebst.
Okay. So therefore, when Vashti should come with a crown on, that would mark the end of her testing time, right?
Deswegen, wenn Vashti kommen soll mit einer Krone auf, das würde die Ende ihres versuchende Zeit darstellen.
Therefore, the 7 days feast that she was in would illustrate her testing time, her trials, right?
Deswegen die 7 Tage Fest, in dem sie sich befand, stellt ihre Prüfung dar, also diese
So,
prüfende Zeit.
It's either this whole time or this little time. We will,
Es
by
ist
God's grace, soon understand exactly.
entweder diese gesamte Zeit oder diese Zeit hier. Also, so Gott möchte, werden wir das verstehen.
Okay, and then at the end you have this beauty, right?
Und dann am Ende gibt es diese Schönheit, die
So,
erwähnt wird.
let us remind ourselves. Let us go to Ezekiel 16.
So, zur Erinnerung gehen wir zu Hesekiel 16.
And this is speaking about this woman that was cast out to the loathing of her person, right?
Das spricht über diese Frau, die hinausgeworfen ist zu der Verachtung ihres Persons.
So now let us read verse 8.
Dann lesen wir Vers 8.
And no one had pity on her apart from the Lord who passed by her. Yes?
Und keiner hatte Erbarmen mit sie gehabt, außer der Herr, der an sie vorüberzog.
Now verse 8.
Vers 8.
Now when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was the time of love. And I spread my skirt over thee and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee and entered into a covenant with thee, saith the Lord God, and thou becamest mine. So that's at the end, where after he passed by, right?
Das ist am Ende, nachdem er an sie vorübergezogen ist.
And now he enters into
Covenant.
covenant.
Und
Okay.
jetzt tritt er ins Bündnis mit sie ein.
And what does he do?
Was tut er?
Verse 12.
Vers
Okay.
12.
And I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thine head. So this is when you receive the crowns, right?
Das ist, wo du die Krone erhältst.
Thus wast thou decked with gold and silver, and thy raiment was of fine linen and silk, embroidered work. Thou didst eat fine flour and honey and oil, and thou wast exceeding beautiful, and thou didst prosper into a kingdom. Yes? So this is when you are exceeding beautiful, and you now are to appear before him. Yes?
hier ist, wo du äußerst schön wirst und du vor ihm erscheinen solltest.
And what is beauty again in the Bible?
Und in der Bibel, was ist Schönheit? Wieder?
Yeah, righteousness,
Das ist
right?
Gerechtigkeit.
Righteous character of Christ, right?
Der gerechte Charakter Christi.
Okay. Therefore, the king called Vashti to now appear before him here,
So, deswegen der König rief Vashti, um hier vor ihm zu erscheinen.
but she said no.
Aber sie sagte nein.
Okay. And so let us just jump over Matthew 19 here and go to Daniel 1.
Geht zu den Notizen zurück. Wir überspringen Matthäus 19 und gehen zu Daniel 1.
Daniel 1 verse 3 to 5.
Daniel 1, die Verse 3 bis 5.
And maybe let us read this actually in the Bible to remind ourselves. Let us go to Daniel 1 verse 1.
Und lesen wir das in unseren Bibeln. Nur zur Erinnerung gehen wir zu Daniel 1, Vers 1.
It says, in the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it. Right? So what did he do?
Was tat er?
Besieged it.
Er belagerte es.
That would be the sign, right?
Das wäre das Zeichen.
So have the siege here, okay?
Hier gibt es der Belagerung.
And then verse 3 to 5.
Und jetzt die Versen 3 bis 5.
And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favoured and skillful in all wisdom and cunning in knowledge and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Okay? So 3 years, and at the end where would they to stand?
3 Jahre und dann am Ende, wo sollen sie stehen?
Before the king.
Vor dem
Okay.
König.
Just like Vashti was then commanded to stand before him. Right?
Genauso wie Vashti befohlen worden ist, vor ihm zu stehen.
And however, when they stood before the king, how were they?
Aber als sie hier vor dem König gestanden haben, wie waren sie?
10 times better, right?
10-mal besser.
Yeah, they were beautiful.
Sie
Okay.
waren schön eben.
Okay. So, all right. So now let us go back to the notes to Esther chapter 1.
So gehen wir zurück zu den Notizen. Esther 1,
Verse 12
Vers 12.
says, But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth, and his anger burnt in him. Okay, so she refused, right?
So, sie weigert sich.
So Vashti refuses.
Vashti weigert sich.
Okay. And what about the king now?
Und was ist mit der König jetzt?
He's now wroth. Okay.
Ist zornig.
Okay, and his anger burnt in him.
Und sein Zorn brennte in ihm.
Go to Matthew 22,
Jetzt zu Matthäus 22,
verses 4 to 7.
Versen 4 bis 7.
Who was sent out to get her?
So, wer ist gesandt, um sie zu holen?
These 7 chamberlains, right?
Die 7 Kämmerer.
And here, according to my Bible margin, it says eunuchs. Okay.
Und hier gemäß der Nebenbemerkung in meiner Bibel, es sagt Eunuchen.
Okay. So now let us go to Matthew 24, verses 4 to 7.
Matthäus 24, die Versen 4 bis 7.
22.
Matthew 22. What did I say?
24.
Sorry, Matthew 22, verses 4 to 7.
Matthäus 22, Verse 4 bis 7.
It says, Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen, my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage. But they made light of it, and went their ways, one to his farm, and another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, and entreated them spitefully, and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city. Okay, so they didn't come.
So, sie kamen nicht.
So what was the reaction of the king?
Und wie ist der König darauf
It
eingegangen?
was wrong.
He was wroth, right?
Zornig.
And therefore now he destroyed Jerusalem.
Und deswegen zerstörte er Jerusalem.
Okay. So here we see it's Jerusalem, right?
Hier können wir sehen, das ist Jerusalem.
DJ for destruction of Jerusalem.
So, DJ für Zerstörung Jerusalems.
Okay, let us go back to Esther 1, verse 13 to 14.
Esther 1, die Versen 13 und 14.
It says, Then the king said to the wise men which knew the times, for so was the king's manner toward all that knew law and judgment. And the next unto him was Kashina, Shitha, Admatha, Tarshish, Meres, Marsina, and Memucan, the 7 princes of Persia and Media, which saw the king's face, and which sat the first in the kingdom. Okay, so what do they understand?
So, was verstehen Sie?
The times, law and judgment, right?
Zeiten, Gesetz und Gericht.
And they are wise men,
Und
okay?
die sind Weisen.
And it's interesting because they're about to execute judgment, right?
Mhm.
So
Sie stehen da vor Gericht auszuführen.
it says in the Psalms, I'm trying to remember which one it was now.
149, you mean?
Yeah, on the 49 that those who are wise, they get the
Privilege to execute
privilege to
judgment.
execute
Es
judgment.
sagt im Psalm 149, dass die Weisen erhalten das Vorrecht, Gericht auszuführen.
Okay, so we can just go there quickly.
Können
Let
da
us
schnell
go to
hingehen.
Psalm 149.
Psalm 149.
Let us begin in verse 4
Und wir fangen in Vers 4 an.
to verse 9.
Verse 4 bis 9.
It says, For the Lord taketh pleasure in his people. He will beautify the meek with salvation. He will do what to the meek?
Er
Beautify.
werde
Ja.
was mit den Demütigen tun?
And he will beautify them, right?
Er wird sie verschönern.
And they get his beauty. Okay.
Seine Schönheit sie geben.
So verse 5.
Vers 5.
Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of God be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written, This honor have all his saints, praise ye the Lord. Okay, so here we see at least the principle that God's people also execute judgment,
So,
right?
hier können wir zumindest das Prinzip sehen, dass Gottes Volk auch Gericht ausführen
And
will.
here it's on the wise one. Okay.
Also die Weisen.
Here it's the judgment on the heathen. It says. Okay.
Hier spricht es über das Gericht über den Heiden.
Yes. But here we understand it's the judgment on Jerusalem.
Aber
Okay.
hier an diesem Punkt verstehen wir, dass es das Gericht auf Jerusalem.
Okay. So, but we saw they knew the times, the law, and the judgment, right?
Zurück in Esther, wir haben gesehen, dass sie kannten die Zeiten, das Gesetz und das Gericht.
So what times did they understand?
So, welche Zeiten verstanden sie?
Judgment of the appointed times.
Yes.
Die bestimmte Zeit.
What does Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1 say?
Was sagt Prediger 3, Vers 1?
The time for
Yeah, there's a time for everything.
Es gibt
Okay.
eine Zeit für alles.
So unless we understand this, we can never understand God's order of things.
So,
Okay.
es sei denn, dass wir dies verstehen, können wir nie die Ordnung oder die Reihenfolge der Ordnung Gottes Sachen verstehen.
That's why it was so much agitated in 2014. Okay.
Deswegen gab es so viel Aufruhr in 2014.
So let us also go to Jeremiah 8, verse 7.
Gehen wir auch zu Jeremia 8 und Vers 7. Das ist auch in die Notizen.
Jeremiah 8, verse 7.
Jeremia 8, Vers 7.
It says here, Yea, the stork in the heaven knoweth her appointed times, and the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming. But my people know not the judgment of the Lord. Okay? So that's the problem. As long as we don't understand the judgment of the Lord, we can never be those wise men sitting there in his kingdom. Okay?
Das ist eben das Problem. Solange dass wir die Gerichte des Herrn nicht kennen, können wir niemals diesen Amt von diesen Weisen in den Königshof arbeiten.
They also see the king's face.
Yes.
So
Es sagt auch, dass die auch den Königs Angesichts betrachten.
in Revelation 22,
Exactly.
because they're this holy temple now.
Yes.
Das ist auch in Offenbarung 22, weil sie jetzt dieser heilige Tempel geworden
Okay.
sind.
Let us go to Revelation 22.
Gehen wir zur Offenbarung 22.
And we can read verses 3 to 4.
Wir lesen die Versen 3 und 4.
It says, "And there shall be no more curse." What is there not anymore?
Was gibt es nicht mehr? Vers 3.
Curse,
Kein
right?
Fluch mehr.
It's when you prayed the prayer of Leviticus 26, right?
Das ist, nachdem du die Gebet von 3. Mose 26 gebetet hast.
Then, yeah, the sin is blotted out and the curse is taken away from you.
Die Sünde ist ausgetilgt und der Fluch ist von dir entfernt.
It says, "And there shall be no more curse, but the throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in it, and his servants shall serve him, and they shall see his face." What do they do?
Was sehen sie?
See
Vers
his
4.
face, right?
Sein Angesicht sehen.
And his name shall be in their foreheads. So what do they have?
Was haben sie?
The seal. Okay.
Das Siegel Gottes.
So this is what the 7 princes also had.
Das
Okay.
ist, was diese 7 Prinzen auch hatten.
Let us also go to 1 Corinthians 6.
Gehen wir auch zu 1. Korinther 6.
Verses 1 down to verse 5.
Die Versen 1 bis 5.
It says, "Dare any of you, having a matter against another, go to law before the unjust, and not before the saints? Do ye not know that the saints shall judge the world?" So what are the saints going to do?
Vers 2. Was werden die Heiligen
To
tun?
be read in
Yeah.
Psalm 44.
Partake in the judgment, right?
Sie werden Teil in das Gericht üben.
"And if the world shall be judged by you, are ye unworthy to judge the smallest matters? Know ye not that we shall judge angels? How much more things that pertain to this life? And if then ye have judgments of things pertaining to this life, set them to judge who are least esteemed in the church." So who's to judge?
So, wer soll richten?
Those that are least esteemed in the church, right?
Diejenigen, die am wenigsten in der Gemeinde geachtet sind.
So it's the meek and lowly ones, okay?
Es ist eben die Demütigen und Niedrigen.
Verse 5.
Vers 5.
"I speak to your shame. Is it so that there's not a wise man among you?" Not what?
Es gibt was nicht unter euch? Vers 5.
A wise man. Okay.
Ein weiser Mann.
No, not one that shall be able to judge between his brethren. Okay? So it's when you are a wise man, then you can judge. Okay?
Wenn du ein weiser Mann bist, dann kannst du richten.
Okay. And we also know the story of Joseph. What did Pharaoh say to him?
Wir kennen auch die Geschichte von Josef. Was sagte Pharao ihm?
Okay, so let's just, it's also in the notes, Genesis 41, verse 39, it's enough for the
Auch
time's sake.
in die Notizen. Es ist in 1. Mose 41, Vers 39.
It says, "And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, For as much as God hath showed thee all this, there's none so discreet and wise as thou art." Right? So when he came and stood before Pharaoh and told him the dream, he was now a wise man. Okay?
Als er kam und stand vor Pharao und ihm den Traum gedeutet hat, war er ein weiser Mann.
Okay. Good. So therefore, these 7 princes are Joseph. Okay? For
So
instance.
deswegen diese 7 Prinzen sind gleich Josef zum Beispiel.
Okay. Good. Now let us go back to Esther chapter 1.
Gehen wir zurück zu Esther 1.
So they are now sitting together with the king in judgment.
Sie
Okay.
sitzen gemeinsam mit dem König ins Gericht.
Okay. And we understand, right, the king, he plays the role of Christ. Okay.
Wir verstehen, dass der König spielt die Rolle Christi.
He marries Esther, for instance. Okay.
Zum Beispiel heiratete er Esther.
But he still nonetheless illustrates an earthly king.
Aber
Okay.
nichtsdestotrotz stellt er auch einen irdischen König dar.
I mean, who would be this earthly king here in Sunday law?
Wer werde dieser irdische König hier im Sonntagsgesetz sein?
No, Trump, right?
Also Donald Trump.
Cold.
Okay. So he's playing this role, but he doesn't know it. Okay.
Er spielt diese Rolle, er weiß es aber noch nicht.
Okay. Now let us go back to Esther 1,
So gehen wir zurück zu Esther 1
verse 15.
und Vers 15.
It says, "What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to law? Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamberlains." And Memucan answered before the king and the princes, "Vashti the queen hath not done wrong to the king only, but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus. For this deed of the queen shall come unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes, when it shall be reported, the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti the queen to be brought in before him, but she came not. Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard of the deed of the queen. Thus there shall arise too much contempt and wrath." So what do they basically say?
So, was sagen sie hier im Grunde?
That this deed of the queen would only lead to what?
Diese Tat der Königin wird nur zu was führen?
Yes, to rebellion and insurrection, right?
Zu Rebellion und Aufruhr.
Okay. And therefore they say it needs to be checked. Okay?
So, deswegen sagen sie, das muss ein Ende zugemacht werden.
Verse 19 to 20.
Verse 19 und 20.
"If it please the king, let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of the Persians and the Medes, that it be not altered, that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus. And let the king give her royal estate unto another that is better than she. And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small." That basically says, okay, when he now executes this judgment, justice is again established, right?
Das sagt hier, wenn er dieses Gericht ausführe, dann ist Gerechtigkeit wiederhergestellt.
And basically all this rebellion is quenched.
Und
Okay.
all diese Rebellion ist eben ein Ende gemacht.
So let us see this.
So, lass uns das schauen.
Let us go to Ezekiel 23,
Gehen wir zu Hesekiel 23,
verse 43 to 49.
Verse 43 bis 49.
And this is what we need to understand. Yeah? The Lord, He sometimes makes a public example in order that others may fear.
Und
Okay.
dies ist es, was wir verstehen. Der Herr manchmal macht ein öffentliches Beispiel, damit anderen sich fürchten.
Okay. So, for instance, when He destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah,
Zum
okay.
Beispiel, als er Sodom und Gomorra zerstört.
And when He punished the men gathering the sticks on the Sabbath day,
Wo er zum Beispiel diejenigen bestraft haben, die Holz am Sabbattag gesammelt haben.
yes, Ananias and Sapphira,
So auch der Fall von Ananias und Sapphira
and other points. Okay.
und auch anderen.
Okay.
Stellen.
Let's read now here in Ezekiel 23, because here he now explains this principle. Okay.
Lass uns jetzt hier in Hesekiel 23 lesen, weil hier erklärt er diesen Prinzip.
And Ezekiel 23 speaks about Ahola and Aholibah.
Hesekiel
Okay.
23 spricht über Ahola und Aholiba.
And what were they famous for?
Und für was sind sie bekannt?
Famous
Sisters.
among women.
Yeah, they were famous among women for their adultery, right?
Also sie waren berühmt unter den Frauen für ihre Unzucht.
Okay, and it says here in verse 43.
Vers 43 sagt
It
es.
says, "Then said I unto her that was old in adulteries, will they now commit whoredoms with her, and she with them? Yet they went in unto her, as they go in unto a woman that playeth the harlot. So went they in unto Ahola and unto Aholibah, the lewd women. And the righteous men, they shall judge them after the manner of adulteresses, and after the manner of women that shed blood, because they are adulteresses, and blood is in their hands. For thus saith the Lord, I will bring up a company upon them, and I will give them to be removed and spoiled. And the company shall stone them with stones, and dispatch them with their swords. They shall slay their sons and their daughters, and burn up their houses with fire. Thus will I cause lewdness to cease out of the land, that all women may be taught not to do after your lewdness. Okay? So why did he punish Samaria and Jerusalem?
So warum hat er Samaria und Jerusalem bestraft?
with their lewdness.
That all women would realize that they should not do after them.
So
Okay?
dass alle Frauen erkennen würden, dass sie nicht ihnen nach handeln sollen.
Obviously not literal women, but spiritual women, right?
Nicht buchstäbliche Frauen, sondern geistliche
But
Frauen.
obviously also literal women should not commit adultery. That's
Aber
also,
auch buchstäbliche Frauen sollen keine Unzucht treiben.
but men obviously also not.
Männer auch nicht.
Okay. So let us go to Ezekiel 16.
Gehen wir zu Hesekiel 16.
Just another example, same thought. Okay.
Weitere Beispiel, selbe Gedanke eben.
Ezekiel 16 we already read. That was this woman that he had pity upon, right?
Hesekiel 16 haben wir bereits angefangen zu lesen, das ist diese Frau, mit dem er Erbarmen hatte.
When he passed by her, he put on the jewels and married her, right?
Als er an sie vorüberzog, er hat ihr diese Juwelen angezogen und hat sie geheiratet.
But she also became a harlot.
Aber sie auch ist eine Unzüchtige oder eine Hure geworden.
Okay, let's read verse 40 to 42.
Die Verse 40 bis 42.
They shall also bring up a company against thee, and they shall stone thee with stones, and thrust thee through with their swords. And they shall burn thine houses with fire, and execute judgments upon thee in the sight of many women. Yes, so the judgment was made, it was a public spectacle for every woman to see.
Dieser
Okay?
Gericht war eine öffentliche Sache gemacht worden, sodass alle Frauen es sehen konnten.
Destruction
Destruction of
of Jerusalem.
Jerusalem.
Die Zerstörung Jerusalems eben.
It says, and I will cause thee to cease from playing the harlot, and thou shalt give no hire any more. So will I make my fury toward thee to rest, and my jealousy shall depart from thee, and I will be quiet and will be no more angry. Right? So, once he executes his judgment, now his wrath is quieted. Okay?
Wenn er diese Gerichte eins ausgeübt hat, ist seine Zorn erledigt,
No, it's beruhigt.
beruhigt.
Okay. So, let us go now to, in our Bibles, to Esther chapter 2.
So gehen wir in unseren Bibeln zu Esther Kapitel 2.
Let us read verse 1,
Und lesen Vers 1.
because this is when he put now Vashti away. Okay,
Das ist, wo er Vashti beiseite legt,
so when he executed judgment upon her. Okay,
als er Gericht über sie ausgeführt
it
hat.
says here in chapter 2, verse 1.
Kapitel 2, Vers 1.
It says, after these things, when the wrath of King Ahasuerus was
Appeased.
appeased. Okay,
Zumindest beruhigt wurde.
so just the same as what he said in Ezekiel 16. Okay,
Dasselbe, was er in Hesekiel 16 sagte.
okay, good. All right, so and we saw in verse 19,
Wir haben
chapter
gesehen
1, verse 19.
in Kapitel 1, Vers 19,
That at the end of the verse it says, and let the king give a royal estate unto another that is better than she. Yes?
am Ende des Verses soll ihre
Königswürde.
Würde ihre Königswürde einen anderen gegeben ist, die besser ist.
Okay, so, and this is always the principle, right? Some leave and they then get replaced
Und das ist immer
by
das
others.
Prinzip. Einige gehen hinaus und sie werden ersetzt von anderen.
Okay, so, and this is what we'll see. This was Esther. When she came in, she now replaced her, right?
Das ist, was wir sehen werden. Als Esther hineinkam, sie ersetzte sie.
And so when Vashti is now here replaced, we will see that Esther now comes in here. Okay.
Was die hier ersetzt würde, wir werden sehen, dass Esther hier hineinkommt.
Okay, this is what we will look at tomorrow. Okay.
Das werden wir dann morgen anschauen.
So let us just finish off with Esther chapter 1.
So, lass uns jetzt mit Esther 1 abschließen.
Let us go to verses 20 to 22.
Nehmen wir die Versen 20 bis 22.
It says, and when the king's decree, which he shall make, shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small. So this decree was to be published throughout all the empire. Right?
Also diese Dekret soll kundgegeben durch den ganzen Königreich.
So the empire in the Sunday law is the whole world. Yes.
Und im Sonntagsgesetz, diese Königreich oder Kaiserreich ist der gesamte Welt.
So
Ezekiel 38, the whole world will know that they went into captivity for their sin. Or something.
Hesekiel
Yes.
38, die ganze Welt wird wissen, dass sie diese Strafe oder in der Gefangenschaft gingen, ihre Sünde wegen.
39.
yes.
Hesekiel 39 sogar.
Okay. So, but I want to look at this word published here. Okay.
Aber ich möchte diesen Wort hier öffentlich verkündet anschauen.
Veröffentlicht.
Veröffentlicht.
So let us go to, keep your finger here in Esther, let us go to Mark 13.
So, halte den Platz hier in Esther und geht zu Markus 13,
Let us read verses 9 to 10.
die Verse 9 und 10.
It says, "But take heed to yourselves, for they shall deliver you up to the councils, and in the synagogues ye shall be beaten, and ye shall be brought before rulers and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them. And the gospel must first be
Published.
published among all nations." Where?
Wo muss es verkündet werden?
Every nation, kindred,
Yeah,
tongue, and people.
exactly. To every nation, kindred, tongue, and people. Right? Whole
Jeder
world.
Nation und Abstammung und Volk und Stamm.
So this decree is this gospel that is now published.
So
Okay.
diese Dekret ist dieses Evangelium, der jetzt verkündet wird.
Let's go also to Matthew 24 to see the parallel.
Gehen wir zu Matthäus 24, um den Parallel zu sehen.
And let us read verse 13 and 14.
Und lesen die Versen 13 und 14.
Or let us read verse 9 and then verse 13 and 14.
Ja, Vers 9 zuerst, dann 13 und 14.
It says, "Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted and shall kill you, and ye shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake." Right? So you're delivered up here. Right?
Hier wirst du ausgeliefert.
And then verse 13.
Dann Vers 13.
"But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." Right? That would be this first end here.
Und das wäre diese erste Ende hier.
And then it says, "And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached or published." Right?
Das Evangelium des Königreichs wird verkündet werden, oder im Englischen dieses Wort
Veröffentlicht.
veröffentlicht.
"In all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come." Right? So this is now when it goes to the whole world. Right?
Hier ist es, wo es für alle Nationen, die gesamte Welt geht.
Revelation 7, verse 9. What we looked at, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday.
Revelation 7, 9, the great multitude. Yes. Mhm.
Offenbarung 7 und Vers 9, wo es spricht über der große Volksmenge.
Yes. Okay. So therefore we can see, that when we go back to Esther 1,
Deswegen können wir sehen, wenn wir jetzt zu Esther 1 zurückgehen,
so verse 20 is now speaking about this witness. This is now given to the nations here. This decree, right?
Esther 1 spricht über diese Veröffentlichung, diese Verkündigung zu den Nationen.
Let's just read verse 20 one more time.
Lesen wir Vers 20 nochmal.
It says, "And when the king's decree which he shall make shall be published throughout all his empire, for it is great, all the wives shall give to their husbands honor, both to great and small." So this is now when the fear comes upon them, right?
Also hier ist es, wo der Furcht über sie kommt.
Because they see the judgment that was executed on this woman here,
Weil sie sehen, dass Gerichte über diesen Frau hier verübt würde.
and also they hear now the message, the third angel's message, right?
So,
Or the
hören
three
aber auch.
angels' messages, rather.
Der 3 Engelsbotschaften liest.
Because what does the first angel's message say?
Denn was sagt der erste Engelsbotschaft?
Fear God, right?
Fürchte dem Herrn.
Keep your finger here, let us go to Revelation 14.
So, halte den Platz hier und geht zur Offenbarung 14.
Verse 6 and 7.
Die Versen 6 und 7.
Because the gospel is the three angels' messages, right?
Aber das Evangelium ist eben die 3 Engelsbotschaften.
It says, "And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel, to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people." So this is now this worldwide message, right?
Das ist diese weltweite Botschaft.
saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. Right? So this message now calls everybody to worship the God of the Sabbath.
So,
Right?
diese Botschaft ruft allen auf, dem Herrn des Sabbats anzubeten.
Okay, so Gospel.
Das Evangelium
Gospel.
geht voran.
Okay, this gives, remember that verse that says, when God's judgments are in the world will learn
Righteousness.
righteousness.
Yes.
Wenn Gottes Gerichte in der Welt, die Welt wird Gerechtigkeit lernen.
Exactly. Yeah, so they will then fear because now they realize, whoa, God is really not putting a blind eye to it. Okay.
Sie werden sich fürchten, weil sie werden merken, dass Gott das nicht unter den Teppich kehrt.
Okay. So let us go back to Esther 1, last verses,
Gehen wir zurück zu Esther 1, die letzten Versen,
verse 21 to 22.
Verse 21, 22.
And the saying pleased the king and the princes, and the king did according to the word of Memucan. And Memucan was which of the princes?
Und Memucan war welcher der Prinzen?
The seventh,
Der
right?
7.
And it's always the one with the seventh plague that comes and shows the judgment, right?
Das ist immer derjenige mit der 7. Plage, der kommt und das Gericht zeigt.
Yes, it's also the beginning of the seventh plague.
Das Anfang vom 7. Plage.
Okay. Then verse 22.
Vers 22.
For he sent letters into all the king's provinces, into every province according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language, that every man should bear rule in his own house, and that it should be published according to the language of every people. So, and it's a message that every man should bear rule in the house, right?
Es ist eine Botschaft, dass jeder Mann sein Haus regieren soll.
Because what is here?
Denn was ist hier?
The woman now is ruling the man, right?
Also die Frau regiert über den Mann.
It's when the harlot woman sits on the mind of the king,
Diese
right?
Hurenfrau auf den Verstand der König sitzt.
So the gospel will tell you, no, this is a wrong thing.
So das,
The man must rule over the woman, right?
das Evangelium wird dir zeigen, dass es eben verkehrt rum. Der Mann muss über den Frau regieren.
Okay, so yeah, therefore we can see how Esther chapter 1 leads us here from the beginning of the Sunday law down to here to Vashti being punished.
Also hier können wir sehen, dass Esther Kapitel 1 führt uns von Sonntagsgesetz bis hin zu der Punkt, wo Vashti bestraft wird.
And now the gospel goes forth,
Und
right?
jetzt geht das Evangelium voran.
To every nation, language, kindred and people.
Zu
Okay,
jeder Nation, Sprache, Abstammung und Volk.
okay, good. And then we will continue tomorrow with chapter 2. Okay?
Dann werden wir mit Kapitel 2 morgen fortsetzen.
And we'll see chapter 2 just explains this time.
Und wir werden sehen, dass Kapitel 2 eben diese Zeitperiode hier erklärt.
Amen?
Amen.
Everybody followed?
Könnte jeder folgen?
Good. Right, then I would say,
Dann würde ich vorschlagen,
let us close for tonight,
lasst uns für heute Schluss machen.
and tomorrow we will continue.
Und morgen werden wir fortsetzen.